All right, today we're gabbing with Taylor Crumpton, who is a great writer, a return guest to the pod, truly one of my favorite culture writers and commentators. Taylor, it is always a pleasure to get to chat with you and pick your brain about these shows that we just love so much. Thanks for jumping back on the mic so last minute. How are you?
Listen, I love any time I get to gab and kiki with you, so I'm excited to be back.
So, okay. So I know we just talked that you have a piece coming out relatively soon about Love Island USA, and this is my maiden voyage in the Love Island USA world. Like because I just feel like in past years I just would get so overwhelmed because I also watch Big Brother, which is 3 times a week, and I'm like, how can I do a show that's 6 times a week? But I'm doing it this season, and I'm loving this journey so far. But tell me a little bit about the piece that you're working on, if you can tease anything that people can expect to read from you.
Of course, so many people like yourself are coming over to Love Island USA Land, which to date is the second most watched reality TV show in America. Over 1.2 billion minutes have been watched of Love Island
Wow.
USA, which is great for Peacock, NBC Universal. But
Mm,
on the unexpected ramifications of that is there has been an increase in death threats towards cast members, towards their family and friends who are managing their social media accounts. And for those who are kind of new to the Love Island franchise in the UK, very tragically, there have been ex-Islanders who have taken their own life and have experienced severe mental health decline because of the backlash that they
mm.
received being on Love Island in their respective countries. So the piece I'm working on, it's kind of almost a half reported piece, half call to action that yes, we can, watch these shows. Reality TV is one of the most dominant, powerful forces in pop culture. However, this consistent um, demonization of these islanders, I think people are forgetting that they are human beings. And especially this cast in particular from last season is more younger. So, like, we have to understand they're going to be 23, 24, 22 coming out of the villa and having to read
And seeing this
hundreds of
onslaught.
thousands
Right.
of this feedback. So the piece for Marie Claire will kind of focus on like the damage that is being done that I don't think a lot of people are being aware of. Like you and I love reality TV. We will go back and forth, threads, Twitter, whatever
Hmm.
platform. But I think we're losing the decorum and the respect that these are human beings and that they will see this.
Is that a result of like a different kind of fan coming in to watch the show now? Because I feel like season 6 of the show, I
Mhm.
remember hearing about it last summer, like, oh my God, this is like the best season ever. We love these people. It resulted in these stars that now the show is having a spin-off focused on them because people loved them so much. Do you feel like because of the success of season 6 and also Maddox came in as host, which sort of like brings in this Bravo viewer interest into the show, is it because of the success of that show and now a new fan is watching Love Island and it has sort of that Bravo toxicity in it? Like, or what do you think explains, the show now having a PSA in the middle of an episode saying, stop cyberbullying the Islanders?
I think it's to the points that you mentioned. Like, we love the Bravo fan base, but there's also the good, the bad, and the ugly in the
Of
Bravo
course. Yeah.
fan base. And I think last year, also, we're seeing kind of like this burgeoning community develop on subreddit pages that are very
Mm,
much each and every day dedicated to like the regurgitation and creation of content. But I saw this towards the end of the last season. So I wrote an essay for Time about Love Island USA. And in the essay, I spoke about how many people loved Serena and Cordell because when male Islanders, in particular, Kendall and Miguel, made comments that seemed to portray Serena as the angry black girl, that Cordell did not feed into that and said, she's simply vocalizing her feelings.
right.
Online, then people use that as justification for a sexually explicit video of Kendall that was released without his consent, which now lives forever on the internet, that they briefly addressed at the reunion last year, but I don't think it was given like the due diligence. And I do remember some type of message from Peacock or NBC Universal during the reunion last year to be like, hey, they are human beings, but in the same breath and vein, people were irritated at Rob's treatment towards Leah, And then a sexually explicit video of him was released without his
Oh
consent.
God.
And this was also at the time where Atlanta was filming and the infamous Kenya
Kenya,
Moore,
Britt. Yeah.
Brit Eady. And I was on social media and I said, well, we always need a reality TV show villain. But I think we're seeing that people are so in love with who they find to be the hero in this series that they want to, of course, show up for them and defend them. But it's having these real life ramifications that I think now networks are trying to figure out what to do. And I think, like, big button issue for me, it's very scary because then will people not want to go on reality TV because you
Yeah,
have ex partners ready to release text and videos and
totally.
images and calls? And that's what's like kind of fearful about this season of Love Island USA, that at any point, if you fall out of favor with America and the fan base, then someone who may not like you, has always had a vendetta against you, an ex-partner, can then put something out there that's very damaging and will live on the internet forever.
Totally. And to sort of kind of go off the idea that like last season was sort of this breakout season for the show
Mhm.
in a bigger way and like the effects of that. Again, I'm new to this whole viewership and I feel like I'm seeing this sort of conversation bubble up that I think is like sort of adjacent to this, which is that like the effect that it's had on the people inside the villa, which is like I feel like people are saying they're self-producing more, they're playing it
Mhm.
safer, they're not being super as authentic maybe in like their pursuit of relationships because they're either scared of not getting the cash prize at the end or I don't know what the explanation really is. But is that something that you notice as sort of like an expert in this show? Like, do you feel like this season the it feels like more of a game almost than it did before, or is that just sort of like an opinion that some people have?
I think it's a yes and.
Okay.
I I truly believe that every single person who's currently on Love Island USA season 7 watcher knows about the impact of season 6. If you were in America, you
Right.
you knew it. Like
Yeah,
it didn't matter
it
if you
was
were
there.
watching
Unavoidable.
everywhere you looked, everywhere you go, every media, straight media, queer media, digital media, print media, it was there, right? So I
Totally.
do believe that there is like this impetus to be on the show for visibility and fame, right? Where in season 6 cast, it wasn't really that big. Like Love Island USA wasn't a cultural phenomenon. So you saw cast members who were appeared to be there for like love in the end. Where
Right,
right
right.
now I think all of us are kind of watching it like, okay, are you wanting a brand deal? Like,
Right.
are you wanting a podcast deal? Are we gonna do it? Kind of feels like almost like The Bachelor, where you're like, okay, I know you came on this platform to get something. And I think that's kind of the frustration we're seeing online, or people are like, well, Serena Cordell was so organic, and Leah Michelle and Kenny, and it's like, hear you. Love that for them. I do think that was just like a moment where all the stars aligned, casting,
Hmm.
Ariana came in, Peacock. I also want people to understand we were in the year for the Olympics, so everybody was on Peacock every
That's
day for
true.
the Olympics.
Hmm.
It also was a presidential election, so everybody was voting. Voting was in the American consciousness. So there were like factors outside that made season 6 so great. And I think season 7 is very interesting because I kind of joked about this with one of the editors who I was talking about my piece. I'm like, this is the first dating show in the second leg of the Trump administration. So I think
Yeah.
online you've been seeing people more vocal about Islanders' political alignments and
Hmm.
affiliations, and that is also playing a part in voting, which wasn't present last year.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's funny because it's like when you think about people going onto a show like this and like maybe they're playing it safe because they want to be brand friendly and they want this,
Hmm.
that, and the other. But in my mind, again, I'm new to this, but like I think the most iconic stuff from the season so far has been like the Huda and Jeremiah stuff and like the fallout from that first America vote where there was the Charlie elimination and Hannah had her breakdown and like the Huda crash out. Like that's the stuff to me that's most memorable. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like I still like a lot. I love a lot of these people. Like Shelly and Alandria, that friendship
Uh,
is so special and amazing, and like I just love both of them individually and together. But like just in terms of like the romantic relationship of it all, like that's the stuff that I think is going to be longest lasting, at least so far. So it's this weird balance of like if you're playing it so safe, like it's going to result in worse TV. I think that there's been some great TV on this show so
mhm.
far. But I don't know. I think I wish that people wouldn't be afraid to be polarizing and to really kind of show that emotion. Like honestly, like Huda has the most, I think.
Yeah. Who can forget? Mom? Mamacita? Like there's just it's
A
those
dog?
little a mom of what? It's those moments that like
Yeah.
I think they forget that that's the real in reality TV. Like when our girl was not chosen and she said,
Hmm.
you know, I have to be strong. I've been strong for the entirety of my life. And you felt that
Oh yeah.
emotion. Like that episode had me in tears, like she was my own
Me too.
sister. And like, I know people are always like, the producers are telling them something in their ear. I think if a producer were to be in their ear, which I really hope they're not, but like, you know, neither here nor there, lean into the real, lean into like those real moments. And I feel that everybody's playing it safe to your point because they're thinking about the outcome when like no one could have predicted PBG, but they were so real and honest with one another that that's the reason why they still have this like long staying power in pop culture.
Right, totally. And I even think about when Olandria was not chosen and she was sent away from Casa Amor. I'm not going to say she was dumped because it doesn't seem like that was the case. But
Hmm.
Zach with a K was like, "Hey, can I pull you for a chat before you go?" And she was like, "Save your words." And like that moment in and of itself was kind of polarizing. And some people were like, "She was so rude in that moment. Like she should have given Zach, the moment to apologize." And I'm like, actually, in my opinion, she had every right to not give him that moment because she'd known him for 3 seconds, and all that would have done is just like absolve whatever guilt that he felt over his decision. Like but that was such a gut reaction on her part to be like, no, I'm good. You know what I mean? And like, I loved that she followed her instinct in that moment because that was one of my favorite moments of that episode.
No one can say that she did not stay true to herself throughout the entirety of the series,
Totally.
the franchise. I think like that's something that all the girls really respected in the house is like
Hmm.
she always seemed to be very much answering to herself and not to what America believed or thinking. Like she was the one person when the America vote happened, gathered the girls and was like, what is America seeing that we're not seeing?
So true.
And that is such a good reality star to me for someone who can be like, yes, I'm in the moment, I'm going to be present, but also there may be things we don't know of. So let's take some time than other people getting so wrapped up in the emotions.
Yeah, I loved when Huda was like kind of again, the crash out was starting over like, does America hate me? And she was like,
Hmm.
no, like they could be looking out for you. They could be seeing something that Jeremiah is doing like on the side that you don't know about, and this could be because of that. So I agree. That's a good call out. When it comes to, and I guess this is coming out on Friday, and we have an episode on Thursday night. That's what makes
Hmm.
Love Island so hard to cover.
I
But
know.
we had this incredible cliffhanger on Tuesday night's episode where Olandria pulls up in that Mercedes SUV. Nick runs into the car.
Wow.
We think they were getting dumped out of the house without getting to say goodbye to their respective people.
Mhm.
What do you what do you hope? What do you hope the follow up to that moment is? Like we have no idea of knowing right now, and this could age really badly in 12
Hey,
hours. But
good.
like, what do you? We've had some time to marinate it in it over the past day and a half.
I will say the Come Here Cream community did win, but at what cost? Their fan base got the AO3 fan fiction ending that they have been praying for, and I just want to say, y'all won. Like y'all did your big one. The producers did it for y'all. I know Megan went up because she's a Nick Andrea stan, so like I'm happy for them. I think it's interesting because I'm such a data nerd. So I'm like the one person who's like, you do understand production is looking at like every challenge that we do on the app, what girls should be partnered with who X, Y, and
Mm,
Z. And they are using that to create these stories
Informed
because
decisions. Yeah.
there are story producers on reality TV if people haven't known. So I'm like, okay, they know that this is a big trend on social media. Their last celebrity guest host likes this trend. So I think that was kind of like the impetus to have that kind of film off scene. But what I've seen is so many clips from like Love Island France, some of the Love Island International franchises, that in the past they have eliminated folks, put them into another location so they're able to like watch their former Islanders and then come back. I feel, to quote our queen Ariana Maddox, happy 40 to her, when she said everyone will like come back to the villa, I think that's kind of the twist of like, oh, you think they're gone, but surprise and very
They're
soap
coupled up.
opera days of our lives. I don't even think they're going to be coupled up.
Oh, you don't?
I think whenever everybody has to come back to the villa, they'll like come from a hideaway and then that terrible song where it's like, tell me. I don't know who's singing that song, but every time I hear it, that girl is singing for her life. And I'm like, Lord Jesus, can we, like, something is really triggering to me. Like, if production is watching, can we switch it? Because I hate it. I hate it so.
I'm crying. Oh my God.
Uh,
I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right. Like there I'm just happy we clearly have not seen the last of those two because I do really like them individually. The last question I have for you, Taylor, about Love Island before we move on, because I think worrying about the minutia again, it's just like it's gonna feel outdated in 24 hours.
of course.
I also saw a lot of conversation about like frustration about how they changed up Casa Amor this time.
Hmm.
And can you explain sort of what was so different about this year's and sort of where that frustration lies with a lot of viewers, at least from what you've observed?
Of course, traditionally in years past, especially season six, Casa Amor, think of it as like your week-long vacation. So last year, the boys went to Casa Amor. There was a whole entire group of Casa girls, and it was fun and lighthearted because they were participating in challenges against the main villa. Also, they weren't coupled up. So like there was still this freedom of exploration. You know,
Sure.
who can forget Aaron's infamous moment when Daniela, them speaking in Spanish, and then the clip coming back to Kayla and she's crying her eyes out. And she's like, what? With her eyeliner. So it's supposed to be a little bit of like lighthearted,
Sure.
fun summer fling energy. This year, the impetus was like, you need to be coupled up now, and you will be in a couple for the whole entire week. I think people, fans in particular, feeling cheated where it's like, okay, I understand you have to have a twist, a turn, give season seven its own brand identity, but it's kind of making people who came season six infuriated. But also, I think people have to understand reality TV, including Love Island USA, is going to change each and every year. Like they are trying
Yeah.
to still get the data and figure out what people like so it can be permanent to the brand. So, like, I feel them because I wanted my girls to like explore and have some fun challenges and just like enjoy this new villa that they spent all this money to like make for them. But it is what it
Yeah.
is, y'all.
Yeah. It felt like a rush. And from my perspective, it felt like
Yeah.
like this rush to get coupled up and they didn't have any, even though Ariana was like, everybody's going to come back to the villa, there was this like sense in the air that there was like a danger looming, honestly. And
Hmm.
I was just, it did, to me, Casa Amor has not been fun. Like, it doesn't feel like a fun experience this year.
And listen, to quote Kyle Cook, Casa Amor should be fun. My girls should be
Exactly.
having a good.
Yeah.
Last year, they were making out. Leah was like, throw me on the floor, bitch. Like they were having a good
Yeah. They're not doing that
time.
this year. Nuh-uh.
This year is Huda crying, Shelly going into Alondra's suitcase, Sierra's having a mental breakdown. I said, none of my girls are having a good time. Like no one is happy.
No, 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 they're definitely not.
Mhm.
Um, is there anything else on the Love Island verse that you want to touch on before we move on to Real Housewives of Atlanta?
I have one
Yeah,
quick.
let's do it.
So I very much am someone who, like yourself, loves reality TV. I don't make a full-time living off of it, but I do like writing for it and I do like getting paid to write about it. What's very concerning is I think on Sunday after the Jeremiah vote, I was
Hmm.
like, hey y'all, we do have to understand that like you calling Islanders incel saying that they're abusive, psychological abusive, manipulative, like going outside of the, I would say, acceptive norms of like they're a bully, X, Y, and Z, whatever we say in
Right.
reality TV, is like disturbing because if you dehumanize someone to the point where you don't respect them, then you will, like last year, release videos of them and not care. And I had someone on Threads say, I hope someone releases a video of Ace. And I sat there and was like,
No.
oh my God. And I gave a couple of minutes to be like, well, maybe they'll go and, delete the comment. No, they stood on business. Like, and someone else in the thread was like, you're the reason why people are like acting wild. Like, you're the reason why we're having these cyberbullying PSAs. So I worry as we're going into like more talk of like Bravo land that like hopefully Peacock, NBC Universal, like really does their big one and continues to like make this an effort, incorporate it part of the reunion. Cause I'm so afraid because in the inverse, what if one of the female Islanders, a revenge porn video of her came out? How would we
Hmm.
react to that? So I do
Hmm.
think there's kind of like, I get it. People think Ace is the leader. He's a double Leo short man from Los Angeles, and he's been fine his whole entire life.
But
The
like, why
baby,
take it to that next? Yeah.
why? Yeah. So that's my one gripe. It's like,
Yeah.
y'all don't do
No, but
that.
and it's like it's the way that that's phrased from that person who commented to you is like as if it's just like, oh yeah, that's what we do in this fandom is we get videos out of people that are trying to self-produce too much. Like that is a crazy jump and just completely undeserving for Ace. I mean, like, yeah, it's like, yeah, Ace is he's being a little ringleader and like, what have you, but like it's not that's not that serious. Like, come on. Like this is yeah, well that's crazy. That's silly.
That's why.
All right, Real Houses of Atlanta, let's go there because we have the season finale coming up this Sunday.
Hmm.
I've been really enjoying this season. I love that it's sparking conversation. I love that it's in the conversation.
Hmm.
I feel like they're moving a lot. Like we're not getting too stagnant on certain issues. I think. I mean, we were for a little bit there, but I think they've kind of moved things along. Um, in this past episode, there was this whole thing where Kelly and Charles are having like this cooking event at Williams Sonoma, and some random man who seems like he's had too much to drink is really eager to say that Charles apparently went to his restaurant with somebody else and is therefore having an affair with on Angela. Um, it has since come out from Angela that apparently Phaedra paid him to be there. What do you think of this whole situation? And Angela, I should say, Angela and Charles were on Watch What Happens Live together, sort of presenting a united front. So they seem to be good from what we can tell.
Hmm.
Where do you land here?
Knowing the history and lore of Charles Oakley, I would never, ever want to be his enemy, adversary, and foe. And
Mm,
also, as someone who lives in Chicago and has family from the south side of Chicago, I yet again would never want to piss off a woman from Chicago. So I'm sorry to that man. If they know where you live and have pulled up to your house, I hope whoever allegedly paid you, whatever gentleman or whoever gave you those funding, did give you Kelly's security guard because I would move to Memphis, baby. I'd move to Minneapolis. I would leave the 404 as soon as possible. But all that to say, it's such a disappointment to hear that another cast member
yeah,
allegedly hired an outside factor for a storyline. I think that's something that like Bravo fans, especially Atlanta fans who have been through the mud for years, are like, no, like we're just getting like
right.
a
Yeah,
good
not this yet.
season. Like we
Yeah,
just got over
forever.
Kenya. Like we like it's like please let's end with like a 7 out of 10. Like please. So I hope it was addressed at the reunion. Who knows?
Hmm.
But Phaedra is such good reality TV. Loved her on Traders. Loved her on Atlanta. Didn't love her that much on Married to
Me
Medicine.
neither.
I don't
Yeah,
think anybody did. If you did,
I'm
okay,
not sure.
babe.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
support loyalty. Um, but someone above her, I don't know who, maybe God, because that's really the only person she answers to, needs to help her understand that this will kill the franchise. If you
Yeah,
come back,
this phoniness. Yeah.
for her to call Kelly and Brittany freaking frack, or either Portia said it, one of the two, this will kill the franchise. Let the story producers who are hired to be story producers do their job.
Yeah, totally. Especially because for me, Phaedra has been working in her several episodes that we've seen her on. Like, I love the humor. I love the confessional.
Yes.
I love the lightness she's bringing out in Portia. I loved her reality check for Brit. Like, I think that she's doing a fairly good job jumping into this group. So, like, we didn't need you to
Didn't need.
allegedly do what Angela's saying you did. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, and I also just think that like Charles and Angela, we've seen all season, like their messiness is just going to seep out anyway. Like Angela, I love her to death. Like she kind of tells on herself a lot. So like that's just going to, if that's happening, it's going to get out there kind of naturally. You know what I mean? Of
Mhm.
all the couples to sort of, or all the, for all the people to like, they're not the ones to that need somebody to be paid off allegedly to get something out there about them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Let the houses do the talking.
Yeah, let the houses do the talking.
Mhm.
Exactly. How do you feel? I mean, we're also sort of seeing this Kelly and Britt fallout play
Mhm.
out over the glam team. I think over this person Paris specifically.
Mhm.
Um, Obviously, Britt takes it to an unnecessarily nasty place in the last episode where they're arguing and then she goes for the jugular and brings up, you
Yeah.
know, abortions, which is just sort of like totally off subject, like totally out of line.
Mhm.
Um, and I just feel it's this weird thing where it's like the drama with her sort of feels like a moot point because she skips the reunion, she's suing the network, we'll probably never see her again. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's like, is it even worth like unpacking it? Like how do you feel about the Brit and Kelly of it all?
I believe that Kelly had a game plan when she was offered that contract. I believe that
Mm,
she understood the power of this platform and humanized herself with motherhood. We saw her daughters, the business, the divorce, like took the opportunity to be like, I am a mother. I am going through all these things that mothers do. I'm going through a divorce. All these divorced people can find empathy with me. I'm wanting to build and scale my business. Like those common threads, but that are very niche. And I think that's why people feel called and attracted to her. There's a reason why her nickname is Strawberry Shortcake. I
yeah,
don't know if whenever Britt got her offer, her contract, if she sat down with her team, whoever, is helping her with the brand, the shapewear brand that we have yet to see,
yeah,
and was like, hey, what's going on in your life? What do you feel comfortable with? What will allow audiences to connect with you?
hmm,
I think Kelly came in with like a long-term plan. And I think Britt kind of was making her plan up as she went. And you see that in kind of these highs and lows of like really intense drama with the castmates and then breaking down and crying and telling me, I'm going to be here for you and we're sisters and I love you with everything in me and let's take shots. Like to kind of bring it back to an earlier point, it's that inauthenticity, that performance that really is kind of like the alleged hiring brings the franchise down and the franchise is on its way up.
it
So
is. Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
gowns, beautiful
Beautiful
gowns.
gowns. Exactly. Yeah. And I also just feel like it's hard because I agree with everything about Kelly. I do think that she's not really owning up to the like asking her glam team not to work with Brit thing very well. I
Hmm.
don't think like she's not,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like I like a lot about her, but I don't think she needs to learn how, like if that's what she clearly did that, but
Hmm.
like she needs to just like completely own that. You know what I mean? Just like
Be
stand in
honest.
that. Yeah, totally. Like I feel like she's avoiding that and then she's like not engaging with Brit in the moment, acting like Brit is the one, and Brit should have checked in on her friend amid the divorce stuff, of course. But
Hmm.
she's acting like Brit is the one that started the glam drama, but like it sounds like it was Kelly who started the glam drama.
And I've never understood the like ownership of glam team because even like in Beverly Hills, I'm pretty sure that um Kathy Hilton and Dorit like shared a hairstylist at like one point. Like it's pretty commonplace for like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you've used this person, I'll use this person. I just feel that's part of kind of like
Yeah.
the ethos of being a housewife. But also, I feel that like the younger, I'm so sorry, Jesus, I really had to take that pause for me. I feel like the younger girls are so much like trying to have their moment, to quote Kenya
Hmm.
Moore, like trying to create a feud and attention because they know they'll have size and people go up for them without understanding people are Team Gazelle or Team Karen because we've been with them for years. So
Right.
we're invested in them. No one is going to be so invested in Kelly and Britt when we just got to know y'all. So
Yeah.
no one's going to like ride up with waffle mix and then like ride off with like some
Right.
shake later.
Exactly.
Even like the Stallion Donkey Booty Great Debacle of Atlanta was great because we
Yeah.
knew them for years. So I do feel like they were trying to play it up in order to get a moment or a clip or like some infamous thing they could put on a shirt and a mug when really all of us were there like,
Yeah, it's too soon for this. And I also it's also this thing where it's like it's always a bit of a red flag for me. And again, I do really like Kelly. It sounds like I don't. I do, I promise. But like when somebody is new to a Housewives
mhm,
franchise and they already have a 10-person entourage following them around wherever they go, I'm like, I know you're a businesswoman, I know you have stuff going on, of course, but like we're not there yet, you know?
yeah, there's like moments where like I don't know why, like I have friends who live in Atlanta, I have family who live in Atlanta, so I'm just like, I don't know why you feel you have to have like your own car, your own security, your own that. It's the performance that always tells them how long you're going to be in there. Like when you're performing for reality TV, we can all kind of put a timer in and be like,
Right.
all right,
Yeah.
eventually.
I think for me, like there's enough authentic from Kelly and there's enough promise where I'm like,
Mhm.
she'll kind of sand down the edges and we'll get there with her. But there's
Yeah.
definitely like a performance element with her. I was gonna say something about Brit, but I'm trying to remember what it was. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like with Brit, like,
One and done.
yeah, one and
One and
done.
done.
And oh, this is what it was. I think with her, it is this weird thing where there's a lot of inauthenticity from her. But I
Mhm.
do think low key, the one of the most authentic things we got from Brit this entire one season from her is like I think it is really natural for her to have those ups and downs within these friendships because she doesn't know how to be a friend. She
Mhm.
doesn't know how to be friends with women, and we knew that from she kind of told us that from the beginning. Her only friends are her sisters, who she's also having a falling out with, and she just doesn't. That's showing itself in the kind of whiplash from the shot moment at the end of the trip to her having this falling out with Kelly. It's just this topsy turvy thing with her, and I think that's pretty natural for her.
And you know what? And that's a good end to note on. I do hope that, she'll look back at this year's
Yeah,
prior and hopefully,
yeah, I hope so
learn
too.
something from this.
We learned something from this. I don't know if we were all rooting for her, but that's last thing about Atlanta, Taylor. How do you feel about Drew? Because I feel like she's
Mhm.
never been like my fave because I talk about authenticity. Like I don't think we've ever gotten full authenticity from her, but she kind of seems to be like common enemy number one within the cast right now,
Mhm.
except for with Angela. Um, but it's this weird thing where it almost feels like low hanging fruit for them to all like pick on Drew. You know what I mean? And it's kind of resulting in me appreciating her and liking her more for how she's like responding to it and sort of not taking it lying down. Like I keep on bringing up her appearance on Watch What Happens Live from a couple weeks ago, which was like really like she was really going there, like when she was singing those insults about people, and
Mhm.
it's having this sort of adverse effect of with her within me. You know what I mean? Which I think the
Mhm.
cast maybe wouldn't expect.
Drew is having her best season.
Yeah,
She is
she is.
having her best season. And of course, she's low hanging fruit. She's notoriously a liar. Okay. Her and lies go together real bad. There is the housing agreement that makes no sense why
Oh
he's
my God.
in the basement. Also, as a child of divorce, I've never foreseen that and how my parents settled it, where some person was living downstairs and you can hear them.
Wild.
There's just things in the myth and the lore that realistically can't be
Can't
possible.
add up.
Like,
No.
I don't
Mm.
know what judge is doing that. I don't think Judge Judy nor Mathis would do this. But I think because of that, she has been able to mold and navigate and be very much adaptable and mutable.
Hmm.
And even this
It's a good
season,
point.
when she's like having drinks with Brittany, she's like, "So did you sell the cat?" Like
Her best moment.
I think that's kind of like one of the like shining things about this season is whether she did some character study acting and she developed a
Hmm.
persona for what this is going to be. If this is her acting, then I think it's one of her best performances. And I loved her in Step Up and the game. So no one can say that I'm throwing her under the bus. I loved her down in all those quote unquote black TV shows. The kind of scary thing is we know this. If you had a really great this season, what about next season?
Hmm.
So I'm hoping that like this alliance she has with Angela on some like black girls from Chicago will really pan out.
Totally.
The Ralph situation, I don't know why he's getting confessionals. I don't know why he's getting screen time. I just do not like when an ex-husband gets confessionals because I think it kind of makes him get big-headed. So I
Hmm.
would love for us to like not see him in the
Yeah.
more. I would have loved on a messy note the crossover with Love and Hip no, is it Love and Hip Hop Atlanta or Basketball Wives? One of the two with the lesbian basketball player
Oh, yes.
who I've
Yes.
nicknamed the Thanos of Black reality TV because if there is a Black woman in a terrible marriage, she was going to come
I'm
and steal
crying.
said Black woman for their husband. That was one of the fourth wall breaks that I wish Bravo could do, but I assume they cannot because that show was on a different network and
Totally.
platform. But
Yeah.
I think that would have been an authentic moment if they were able to kind of have almost like we had with Sheree and the man from Love and
Yes.
Marriage Huntsville, like that
Hmm.
kind of crossover moment. That would have been good. And I think kind of like allowed the housewives to finally kind of give their 2 cents instead of it kind of being then on social media where they're sharing
Hmm.
receipts and stuff like that. Bring it to the show. Bring
I
it to the
totally agree.
show.
I'm totally with you. Keep it buttoned up when it
Mhm.
comes to yeah, all the social media stuff. Um, all right, Taylor, let's jump over to Miami. Let's go
Mm,
down the coast a little bit. I'm really enjoying the season so far. They just know how to do it for me.
yeah.
How are you feeling 3 episodes into Miami?
I wish we could launch a 4-year consideration campaign for Miami
Yes.
because the 305 have never failed us. I think it's one of the most authentic, genuine, quote
Hmm.
unquote, diverse cast we have on Bravo. I love the Haitian Creole. I love the Spanish, the callback to Mama Elsa. Like, it's so good because you can actually tell they have fostered friendship. Like,
Hmm.
they're real ties, to quote Quad, real sisterhood.
Sisterhood.
But I do hate the isolation of Gertie this season. Like I think she has become the low-hanging fruit
Yeah.
because Dr. Nicole is no longer there to back her up. And
Hmm.
to me, I think it's a terrible move for a fresh housewife to then come after like someone you came in with in order to appease like the old guard and try to be one of them because the old guard will never let you in. So when Julia threw water at Gertie, and also Gertie was right to be like, how many drinks have you had? Because her mood just kept on increasing. And when she tried to
Hmm.
get Marisol and her husband to kiss and she was in the middle of it,
It was weird.
it was weird, but then not taking a moment in confessional to be like, I drank too much that night and this, but to still stand on business and be like, no, Gertie is the one wanting attention. Let me remind y'all, Gertie been had a platform, been that girl, been an editorial, recent editorial for her work and her labor. So it's very interesting for Julia to be like, Gertie is the one wanting all this attention. Where if you kind of look at who's been consistently receiving press and editorial, it's more likely Gertie. So I don't like Julia then trying to throw her under the bus and act like she's like this real,
Yeah.
stallion when she can't hold water.
No. And Julia, literally and figuratively. Um, yeah, I think Julia, it's this weird thing from Julia where it's like, I've never thought that she was like that great of a housewife, to be honest. Like, I feel like she was kind of, there was other reasons I think why she was added to the cast, and she's been fine. You know what I mean? Like but I feel like the glaring, obvious thing for me in this scenario is like Gertie's always operated at this sort of level of energy and like had this
Yes.
sort of way of expressing herself and what have you. Whereas Julia, there's been a clear change from
Hmm.
when she started to now, and you can always suspect a change because you get more comfortable on camera and what have you. That's fine, but she's kind of acting like a different person, and that's where it's like it's just inauthentic. She's bringing up a cruise thing, a very confusing cruise situation from 10 months ago, which was, if you do the math, that's before they filmed this past reunion. So if it was really bugging her, she should have brought it up at the reunion. But
Hmm.
she's re-excavating it because she knows she's in the wrong with the thing with the Zoom call where she didn't let Gertie back in and then she wouldn't tell her the news. And as we've seen from the receipts that Gertie has put out, like Julia was very much in the wrong in that situation, kind of objectively speaking. Like go wait till the People magazine article comes out to find out that I'm adopting kids. Like that's crazy to tell your best friend. And I also think that with Julia, she's a common denominator. She's also having issues with Adriana, with her other
Oh,
best friend. So it's like, I think that it's very clear that, as you're saying, Julia's trying to saddle up with the cool girls, the OG, the old guard, and it's not really gonna. I think they're putting up the front that it's gonna work, but I don't think it's fully gonna work for her. And I agree, the Dr. Nicole not being there to sort of bridge Gertie into the group and kind of like, I think that they sort of balance each other out in a way because
hmm.
Nicole was so even keeled. And again, Gertie has this like larger than life way of expressing herself, which she's always had. And without the balance, Gertie unfortunately is sort of like drifting off from this group.
Hmm.
And I think obviously she has Kiki, but I feel like Kiki is sort of good with everybody. You know what I mean? So it's a hard thing, I think, for Gertie. And I think she's very clearly in the right in the Julia situation. But I think overall, I'm curious where this goes for her. You know what I mean? Without Nicole there to ground her.
I want Gertie to remain authentic to herself. Like I have listened to her in many podcast interviews, and the way that she speaks on the show is the way she
It
speaks
is.
in the
It is.
press. Animated, larger than life, all
Hmm.
over there, like a peacock, literally and
Yeah,
figuratively.
totally.
You will always be able to see her, but it almost kind of reminds me of what happened in last season of Summer House when you come in with someone and then the person who's supposed to be your built-in ally, which for her was Nicole and
Mm,
Julia as the new guard, your best friend is gone. Your other friend has gone through this whole entire character change. So she doesn't have this stability. And I'm like very curious because if we get to the reunion and we haven't seen, I would say like an authentic change of like maybe her like taking a moment to pause and like listen, because it seems like her go-to is to like get louder and louder. So it's just like escalating.
hmm
I don't know how that's sustainable for a housewife over time.
I agree. Yeah, I think and it's this weird thing where two things can be true. I think with Gertie, like she's given us so many amazing, authentic moments. I think
Mhm.
particularly tied to her cancer journey over the past
Mhm.
season and a half or whatever, or 2 seasons. I forget when that was. But I also do think that she has shown, like you're kind of saying, like she hasn't shown the ability to like fully adjust.
Mhm.
And you kind of have to do that as a housewife. And so like that's why like I appreciate her for so much, but I haven't been fully convinced by her as a housewife either over the years. Like I need to see like a different shade and a different whatever, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like it's a hard balance with Gertie, I think. And I like you, we're at the beginning of the season, but I'm so curious to see where this nets out and whether she can sort of okay, I should readjust to the reunion. I should
Mhm.
XYZ. I don't know what that looks like though, you know?
Yeah. And in the event that, Dr. Nicole doesn't come back, I could also see Gertie being like, well, like every housewife in between seasons, my allies are gone.
Hmm.
I'm obviously not going to be accepted in. If the network doesn't give me a friend of or someone to come in, her bowing out, I think, change is also good. But Miami is such a solid
I know.
franchise that like I don't want anyone to leave. Like I still miss Dr. Nicole. I am very curious about the new housewife we're going to get and see
Next
how
episode, yeah.
she shakes up the chemistry and cast. But Gertie, I just want you to think a little bit smarter
Yeah,
on how you're
I agree.
navigating this.
I agree. And I wonder maybe I know we have some sort of lunch with Dr. Nicole and her
Mhm.
coming up at some point in the first half of the season. So maybe that could be a moment where she gets the like advice from Nicole. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Maybe that's where she can get that. So I guess watch this space, but that was the end of this episode was just like a wild ride, and I need Julia to like think twice before she acts next. The other thing that I'm just it makes me laugh because it is so unserious in a way
Mhm.
is the Lisa and Larsa feud because like speaking for myself, I am fully loving it. Like that scene where whoever hired that van for them that had them face each other
That
is
one
a
day.
genius among
Oh my
us.
God.
That was an amazing scene. They had to finally have a little confrontation after flying across the world and not speaking to one another on the same plane. Incredible. Um, how are you feeling about Lisa and Larsa? Because I'm living for it.
Here's the thing about them two. It is two, well, I almost said a bad word. It is two sides of the same coin
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at each other and going, exactly, 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 exactly. It is literally like two twins that are just like, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. Like, that's what I like about a housewife show. You were literally fighting over the pettiest thing in the world. It could mean everything to y'all, but to us, it's just like watching the US Open. I'm like, oh, she got her again. Ooh, Jody's eyes. Oh, she's taking a selfie while she's walking. Ooh, she blew her a kiss. Oh my God, is that
Yes.
fabulous? Like, I just really love how it was really.
The fabulous part where they were talking to him and he's like, no, like, you Lisa didn't actually hang out with him. Okay, well then Larsa, maybe you should be more respectful. And Larsa's like, well, he didn't unfollow him, whatever. And then we got their two confessionals where they're like, yeah, you heard him. He said that I'm right. They both said that. They both said that.
My favorite line, she said, loyalty is really big in the rap game. And as someone who also is a hip hop journalist, I'm like, Larsa, baby, we know your relationship with hip hop and men in hip hop. Let's
Yes.
not bring up
Let's not go
loyalty
there.
because I felt the shadow of the Kardashians and Kris Jenner and Future right behind the minute she said it. And I was like, babe, babe,
That
let's
was
not.
amazing. Yep. That was a self own right there. Uh-huh.
A Larsa light, if you will.
A Larsa Light, yes. And then last thing I want to ask you about for Miami, we have the whole Alexia and Todd situation.
Oh,
And
Lord.
it's like, I mean, talk about authentic.
Hmm.
It is so on brand for Alexia to be just like her kind of Jersey sister, Teresa, to
Yeah.
be the kind of woman who really just can't quit this one guy who is clearly not good for her. Everybody around her is saying, no, do not get back with him. What he just did to you was fucked up. We never even really liked him. And here we are in the year of our Lord 2025, and she is still saying on Watch What Happens Live that no, they're not together, but we did sleep with one another this past week. So that's just to me, that is so Alexia, like of course, of course.
What is that favorite line? I have it. It's like one of my like favorite memes where she's like, I just listen to my heart and my heart is the decider and I don't care if it's wrong or not, but it's my heart. Somebody give us the birth chart because it just gives cancer, it gives lover girl, it gives
Yes.
I will be with you to the end of time. However, I think the scariest thing for a housewife is to be like, well, I told my partner I leave the show for him.
Oh, I hated that. I hated that, Taylor.
The
Chills.
as an OG, you're on the original and the reboot. You're going to give up what you
No,
for him. The devil
no.
is a lie. The devil is a lie. I've never wanted Mama Elsa to come back for the grave so
Yes.
hard and to just whack her and be like, for a man. For when Lars is giving you relationship advice, you better go see the lady. You better go see the lady and sit with her because there is no dick in this world is good enough to give up a platform.
No, and it's certainly not Todd's. It's certainly not Todd's.
Meanwhile, Todd's daughter is going on like TikTok calling her like fake, and we filmed all
Oh, I
these
haven't
scenes.
seen that. I need to
This
go
is
look.
oh yes, Todd's daughter got on TikTok and was like, yeah, we filmed some scenes when they were like getting married and trying on dresses and everything, and like the scenes weren't didn't make it to air, and like the franchise is so fake, and was calling out Alex. So also, as a child of divorce, if the person you are dating, their children do not like you and do not like your kids, in the long run, it cannot be sustainable. It cannot
Yeah,
work. So maybe Andy, Big Daddy Andy, during the reunion will try to talk some sense into
wake her
her.
up. Hmm.
Because if I have to read a deadline report or an iOS story on Instagram that she has left, I will scream.
No, I'll be no, we can't lose our Cuban Barbie. We just can't. We keep her we can't put her back in the box, you know. She has to be living out loud. And that's, she is the anchor of the show, and
Yeah.
Todd, stay away from her.
Stay away. Please find another girl. I need Alexia, who said that Bethany Frankel shouldn't be on Miami. I
Yes,
need that
that
Alexia at the
energy.
forefront. I need
Absolutely. Because we
Mama
agree.
Bear.
Yes.
No.
Taylor, last thing, we're not really going to go deep on the Valley. I've decided I'm good right now. Like
Hmm.
it's, and I think for me, the issue with the Valley right now, it's been a pretty landmark season. I think just overall with all the drama and stuff. And I
Hmm.
love that. But somebody said it somewhere, and I wish I could give credit. I don't remember who it was. There's just no balancing out with like the heavy, intense, kind of
Hmm.
always going drama. We're always getting updates. The after show is like packed full of information. But there's no, I mean, we get some humor from Zach and Jasmine and Kristen, but we don't get that much humor. And when we do get humor, it has to do with Jax or, making fun of Janet again. Like there's no like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just all, it's like so just like a runaway train. And
Hmm.
I would just love some like different levels to it that I'm just not getting from the Valley this season, or at least right now.
It's very one-dimensional in the sense that the central narrative and theme is heterosexual marriage is a disease and y'all should never do it. Like it feels more like a PSA,
Yeah,
why
totally.
like straight marriages seem to be awful, which I know not to be true. Like I have seen and I have
Of
friends who have these
course. But that's the
great,
message.
yeah, that's the message. They have to do a shakeup. I've read the recent report on it in Variety, in The Cut, and
Hmm.
GQ. And the through line, like among them all, is like, okay, yes, they're saying that they want to get both sides, that they want to capture what's going on. Inherently, that narrative still platforms the person who has the most power and dominance in the relationship,
Hmm.
which in this case is Jax. And also, kind of like in Housewives world, when one housewife takes up so much space, the other cast members can't breathe. We can't pay attention to their storylines. I want to hear more about Jasmine and her fiance wedding planning. I want to know more about Zach and Benji. I would like to get into those like things where I'm like, okay, like lesbian wedding, how is this figuring out? What's going on with Zach and Benji? And that's a queer interracial relationship. Even when Nia was having her mommy blues, like, and she finally told Danny, I want to have this baby so I can have my body back. Like, those are the more pressing issues where I'm like, yeah, she doesn't feel an ownership of her body, and she probably doesn't feel sexy because she's having to breastfeed. Let's do that, then give Jax Taylor, who I have
Right.
seen for the entirety of my life,
Yeah.
do the same ish he did the late aughts, the teens, the 20s. We are 4 years away from 2030. I don't need this man.
I can't. No, and it's like everybody's kind of aligned here. Like we're just kind of exhausted by it and we're tired of it. And it's just been this circular thing of like, he fucks up in a major way. He does the work, quote unquote. He comes
Mhm.
back. He says he's changed, but he actually hasn't changed. And then it just keeps on going and going and going. And I'm good. I agree that those are things that could easily have balanced this out. And it's just not being balanced out right now. And it's just,
And I
mm,
think that network needs to have a conversation where you have to, kind of like a housewife, have a long-term plan with a start date and an end date. And I know that there were rumors about a Vanderpump Rules spinoff pre-Scandival. We all know why they got canceled. We all know
mm-hmm.
why certain cast members were fired by the network in 2020. I don't have to regurgitate what
Nope.
people already
But we
know.
know.
However, I think they have to sit down with some of these talents and be like, I know that you've been with us since your young 20s. You can't be with us forever. Like, we can't have Zach Taylor be on Love Hotel. We can't have him until he's like in his 50s and his 60s still on this network. And I hope with like season 3, they're having conversations. But I also think that like I'm not saying they have to get Carl Radke's career coach who was like 10, $20,000 a month. Please don't hire that person because
No,
where is
certainly
soft
not.
bar? And that wasn't even a slug, but where is it? Anyway, so how can you make a name for yourself outside of reality TV? I'll say this again. Paige DeSorbo is one
Yes.
of the smartest people to have ever been in unscripted TV. I think they sometimes need to look towards the younger talents on how to use this platform and how to leave because Jax, then podcast tours got canceled, the venues have canceled, people are citing your behavior. As a journalist, I just got a press release from change.org that there's a petition calling him out, removing him because
Wow.
of
Breaking news.
his offensive content. Yeah, and I got that from the PR people behind change.org. It
Wow.
has over 12,000 signatures for his comments and actions that have disrespected individuals and communities, perpetuate harmful stereotypes, bullying, and negativity that have no place in today's progressive society. He has been accused of making racist and homophobic remarks, problematic drug and alcohol abuse, as well as demonstrating a lack in respect for women. They have sent this to NBC Universal, Bravo TV,
Wow.
Vanderpump Rules producers. I'm looking at the comments now. I brought this just for you in exclusive. And you have people who are sharing their own stories about, like, it took me 8 years to leave my abuser. I was married to someone for Jax for 12 years. He was bipolar and a narcissist. Like, this is not healthy. This is not good. And I think Alex and the parties that be have to understand if you were having people from across the nation go on change.org and share their own stories of intimate partner violence and abuse, it is time to let him go because in the inverse, people are now saying that they're going to start boycotting the network, and that's going to affect all of us who watch Bravo.
Yeah, we don't. This is the Jax Taylor hill is not the hill that I think Bravo and production wants to die on. Because there's also there's enough promising stuff on happening on the Valley that we're just not focusing on that could easily guide us out of this Jax Taylor era. He was great to launch the show with, what
Mhm.
have you, sure, but we're good. We're good.
We're good. And allegedly, we're getting another LA based show, if you believe the rumor mill.
Which
Do
show
you
are
know
you
which one I'm
talking
talking?
about? I don't know.
Well, I think Cynthia Bailey, our sweet peach, said this to Crystal on their podcast, or
Okay, I
that's
missed
what
this.
this is the tweet that I read. So also, y'all don't quote me. But apparently, there have been conversations around a next gen LA because of the
Oh,
success of next
interesting.
gen NYC. So
So
if
Kyle's daughters and Cynthia's daughter.
well, I feel like I'm the only person who watched Buying Beverly Hills.
Oh, I watched it. I watched it.
Okay, you and I did, but I think Cynthia's daughter is out
She lives in
there.
LA. Yep.
Yeah, so I think
Okay.
unrelated, if we can
Interesting.
kind of phase the first younger gen people out, like a Jax Taylor, and then create space for like next gen NYC, next gen LA, I think they'll be able
It's
to
kind of
get
fun.
the Gen Z people who find Jack Taylor to be the antithesis of everything their generation
Yes.
fights for.
That's a great way to end Taylor. Wow, perfectly said. Um, Taylor, thank you so much. This is awesome. I feel like I learned a lot from the Love Island part in particular. I needed to pick your brain on some of those bigger ideas. And
Always.
just there's a lot going on around the Bravo Peacock world as there tends to be. So Taylor, where can people find more of your writing? I know
Mhm.
you were working on some books. You said you have your Love Island article coming out.
Mhm.
Do all the plugs before we sign off here.
Of course, I am at Taylor Crumpton across all social media platforms. If you're a Love Island USA watcher like myself, I am on there every night on Threads. Holla
Follow
at your
Taylor on
girl.
Threads.
I
Amazing
ha
commentary. Yep.
Thank you. I try my best. I have a monthly column in Time magazine. So if y'all like all of my cultural things, you can find me there. And then I am working on two books currently. One is a history of the Black women on reality TV, and the other is a retrospective on Beyonce Knowles, and those come out next year.
So excited for both of those things. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Well, Taylor, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll do this again soon.
I can't wait.
I want to gab.